Okay, guys, I want to tell you the story about how I recently tried to buy a used RV. And what should have been an exciting experience turned into a frustrating exercise full of red flags and confusing policies that just didn't make sense. From the start, I told the dealer I wanted to inspect the RV myself before making any kind of commitment. I wasn't asking for anything crazy or complicated. I just wanted a basic inspection that any smart buyer would do before spending thousands of dollars on something that's not just a vehicle, but oftentimes can be a second home. They did let me walk through the RV, and they did have the electric plugged in, but I wasn't able to test the outlets because neither the salesperson nor I had anything to plug in or a tester on hand, so I would have to come back to do that. The dealer told me that if I wanted to test things like the water and the gas appliances, I would need to have an agreement signed and put down a deposit first, which that seemed weird to me, but here we are. There was no water hooked up and the gas wasn't hooked up. And I was allowed to look at the roof where I noticed some DIY repairs. This RV is about 8 years old. I also wanted to remove the cover on the roof AC to see if it had been properly maintained. I'm not a first-time RV owner, as you can tell, and I've had issues with RVs in the past, so I kind of know what to look for on like just basic maintenance stuff. So looking under the RV, I saw that the leaf springs definitely needed to be replaced. Those are like the shocks for an RV. And at the back, there were some panels that were dented in, and it looked like the RV had been hit or backed into something. And then one window seal was coming off, which meant more inspection was needed to see if there was any water leaking into the bed area. And of course, the water heater was really rusty and it didn't look like it had been properly maintained. There's parts on that you can take apart to look to see what's going on. There may be some replacements needed. So I wasn't expected perfection. I wanted to turn things on other than the electric, like the water and the gas appliances, and test how everything worked. That's when things got really weird. The dealer told me I absolutely could not do a full inspection myself, especially not related to the gas appliances, and that any inspection had to be done by a licensed RV inspector. Then they said I had to sign a deposit agreement first and even wanted to run my credit despite the fact that I was paying in cash. They kept insisting that they had already done a full inspection and had paperwork to prove it, but I needed to be able to verify the systems myself. Everybody should verify themselves to make sure they're not buying a problem. And again, this is a used RV, and I expected that there were going to be things I needed to repair or replace to get things the way I wanted them. Not just necessarily working, but safe, and we're going to be good over a long term. I like to camp off grid, so, on Bureau of Land Management, BLM land, and sometimes I'm out for weeks at a time, and when it's hot or you need water, you don't need things breaking down on you, right? So I felt like they wanted me to commit to the price with no room to negotiate if I found some expensive repairs later, like the rusted water heater or the leaf springs. Well, definitely the leaf springs need to be replaced. And also, it looked like on the roof, on the DIY repairs, it looked like nobody had ever resealed anything. It looked like the original seal on all of that. So that was going to need to be done. So anyway, not being able to check all of these things isn't how responsible buying really works. So I also wanted to take some panels off. In RVs, there's panels, and you just take some screws off and you look behind the panel and you can get at different components. And sometimes in older RVs, there might be rodents in there or signs of other kinds of problems like leaking. So I wanted to do that. They were not up for that. I felt like they were stonewalling me. I'm not a flaky buyer or someone wasting time. I was ready to move forward as long as the RV passed basic checks. And even if it didn't, I just wanted to know that before I committed to the price they were asking for. Maybe I wanted to negotiate it down by saying, hey, I know all of these things need to be done. This is what the standard cost is for an RV in this condition, right? It didn't look bad from a cosmetic standpoint, and it was very cute. I liked it, but there were some things that probably needed to be done. But I felt like they didn't want me to look at this too closely. And that's when I knew this wasn't the right RV. It might have been the right RV actually, but it was not the right dealer. So if you're shopping for a used RV, don't be afraid to walk away if the seller makes inspection harder than it needs to be. You're not just buying a vehicle. You're buying your future weekends, road trips, and maybe even your home. You deserve to know exactly what you're getting into, and you should be allowed to personally see and test those things if you really know what you're looking for. And I may not know a lot about RVs, but I know some things, and I know the things I want to look at. Once I've looked at that stuff and I feel like I still want to go forward, then I'm going to pay for an expensive inspector, but not before then. And they just were not up for that. So let's just say that it's a huge nationwide dealership, and its name is a primary color and the thing that you hold in your hand to find true north. They have kind of a medium reputation. Like, some people have had some really horrible experiences and other people have had some okay experiences. So, that's how RV dealers are these days. I'm not going to say that RV dealers are sketchy. I'm just going to say that they're being forced to sell new products that aren't necessarily that great anymore. The quality of RVs have gone way downhill. And so I think they've come up with some interesting ways to get sales completed. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.